Most of the forensic people work in the courts. They've never worked child abuse. They don't know what actual child abuse looks like. And it doesn't look like what the child's presenting in the family courts. When an actual child abuse victim does not look like what the child does in the family courts, because it's a false attachment pathology in the family courts. Many times there are cases of actual child abuse. Yes, that exists. Dogs exist, cats exist. And the existence of dogs does not mean that the cats don't exist, and vice versa. They both exist. Both have fur, 4 legs and a tail, but we can tell them apart if we know where to look. And so we need to identify actual child abuse by the targeted parent from inauthentic child abuse, a factitious attachment pathology being imposed on the child by a narcissistic, borderline, dark personality parent. We need to identify both of those 100% of the time with accuracy. If you believe a shared delusion, you become part of the shared delusion. You become part of the pathology. When that pathology is child abuse, you become part of the child abuse. When it's spousal abuse, you become part of the spousal abuse, using the child as a weapon. So these mental health people around you, if they misdiagnose the pathology because they are ignorant and incompetent, they become child abusers and spousal abusers because they are ignorant and incompetent. They get caught in this role that serves their own emotional needs. The protective other in the situation, the virtuous protector. That's the role. The virtuous protector is the mental health person. I'm so wonderful. I'm going to protect the child from the abusive parent. Problem is that parent's not abusive, and this one is, and you're colluding with the abusive parent to protect the child from the healthy parent because you believe a shared delusion, because you got caught in your virtuous protector desire. So if you're going to work the family courts, you really need to know what this pathology is. You need to know about dark personalities and borderlines and narcissists and delusional disorders and persecutory delusions, and the mental status exam of thought and perception. And the brief psychiatric rating scale. Item 11, unusual thought content, is for rating delusions. We should bring that into the family courts. Why hasn't that been here for 40 years? A brief psychiatric rating scale. Item 11, unusual thought content. If the person acts on the delusion as if it was true, that indicates full commitment to the belief, full conviction. And at full conviction, that's the difference between a rating of 3 and a rating of 4. Rating of 3, there's not full conviction in the false belief. That's relatively normal range still. If there's full conviction in the false belief, it goes to a rating of 4. Now it's a delusion, encapsulated delusion at a 4 with no impairment of functioning and no preoccupation. Well, there is impairment of functioning and there is preoccupation, so it goes up to at least a 5 on the BPRS. Item 11, unusual thought content. So it is at least a moderately severe persecutory delusion in the family courts based on the brief psychiatric rating scale. The oldest, most widely used measure of the scale for rating psychotic symptoms. BPRS. Is it used? No. Ignorance like a rock. So for treatment, I understand parents, you're very worried about your situation, your child. Absolutely. You're the protective parent. You're trying to protect your child. I'd recommend you kind of get over into Dorcy's world and absorb her information. Higher purpose parenting class is good. You may want to consider a trained coach out of there. But we still need a diagnosis of the child abuse for treatment. That's just, we need to fix things. We need a treatment plan. For that, we need an accurate diagnosis. The accurate diagnosis, child psychological abuse by the allied parent. The mental health people are not stepping up to their duty to protect obligations, and as a result, they are failing to protect the child because they are failing to make an accurate diagnosis of the child abuse. Because they're not competent in the assessment and diagnosis of the child abuse, the shared delusional disorder and attachment pathology. So, to the extent that parents in your generation can hold these mental health people accountable for their incompetence, then that's a good thing, because it will inspire motivation to become competent. To the extent that you can get your legislators to look at the licensing boards and why licensing boards aren't enforcing competence standards, that would be good, because it will get the motivation for them to be competent. But we're still going to be faced with the problem of, we get rid of the incompetent ones, but the clinical psychologists will not work in the family courts until we make it safe for their license. Okay, so that's going to be the little knot that holds things up for a little bit, that you're not going to be able to find any mental health people in the family courts, any competent mental health people, any mental health people. The incompetent ones are going to flee. It's too dangerous, and the competent ones won't come, especially now that it's so dangerously inflamed in the family courts, where everybody's in danger, even the forensic people. The clinical psychologists are going to say, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. That's my license on the line. That's my career. That's my family. That's my house payment, my car payment, my stress at night. I'm not going to work in the family courts. I'll go work ADHD or eating disorders, substance abuse, somewhere else where they want me. Okay, so that's going to be the situation. My recommendation on the diagnosis is the diagnostic checklist for pathogenic parenting and the parenting practices rating scale. Ask them to complete those two. There's a checklist, diagnostic checklist. Can you please rate the child's symptoms and whether these 12 associated clinical signs? They will say no. The mental health people will say, no, I'm not going to tell you what the symptoms are, because they're ignorant and incompetent. Incredible that they will say no. You say, I'd like this checklist completed, and they will say, no, I'm not doing that. That's incredible. Makes my head explode for any doctor. But they do that, and they're allowed to get away with it. Parenting practices rating scale. They're accusing you, the targeted parent, of being problematic in your parenting somehow. Document it, please. Parenting practices rating scale, 4 levels. Level 1 and 2 are abusive range. Level 3 and 4 are normal range. Please tell me where my parenting falls so that we can fix whatever problem there is, and we can fix the child's attachment pathology if I'm the problem. Tell me what my problem is. Parenting practices rating scale. If you are a normal range parent, level 3 and 4, then you cannot possibly be creating the severe attachment pathology in the child. Level 3 and 4 parenting or level 3 parenting, problematic normal range, creates an insecure attachment that more strongly motivates the child to bond to the problem parent, not less, more. So if you're a level 3 or 4 parent, you cannot be producing the severe attachment pathology. So diagnostic checklist for pathogenic parenting. Tell me if these symptoms are present in the child. If they are present in the child, they need an explanation. And there's only one possible explanation for that set. They can try to explain them some other way, but just tell us, are these symptoms present? If they are, they need to be explained. Yes or no, are they present? The idea that they won't tell us is insane. Tell us what the targeted parent, their parenting is. 4 categories. Tell us where there's a problem so we can fix it, and there won't be a problem. But they won't tell us that either. So those are the 2 instruments that will absolutely, if you get those 2 instruments, I will absolutely diagnose this pathology in the family courts, the shared delusional stuff, 100% of the time with no misdiagnoses. Those 2 instruments, diagnostic checklist, parenting practices rating scale, will 100% identify the pathology and will never misidentify it. Try it. Try it out. You think it's not true? Try it out. See if it's true. Collect those two measures and see what happens. Disrupt the homeostatic balance. The moment they start collecting the information, they're going to look and they say, holy cow, the information is right there. We have narcissistic traits. We have a delusional disorder in the child. We have like crazy attachment pathology with a normal range targeted parent. The moment they look, they'll see. So look, checklist, check, 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 little boxes, simple, easy peasy. So that's the situation on treatment. We need to first protect the child. We cannot ask the child to reveal their authenticity until we can protect them. Until I can protect the child, if I get that child to bond to the targeted parent, that child's going to face a withering retaliation from the pathological, narcissistic, borderline, dark personality parent. We must first protect the child with all cases of child abuse. This is a diagnosis of child abuse. We need to start making the diagnosis and protecting the child. We can fix it easy peasy. We don't need years of conflict going on because we are protecting the pathological parent. No, diagnose the child abuse, protect the child, fix the problem, and give the child a normal, range and healthy childhood. But the mental health people are failing. The systems are broken, and we cannot fix the situation in any one family until we fix it. The system, which will fix it for all families everywhere. You don't need to prove a pathology to anybody, to a judge, to the mental health. We just need the mental health people to do their job. They have a duty to protect your child. They have a duty to protect you. They have a duty to inform the court of child abuse and spousal abuse when it is present. They are massively, massively failing in their duty to protect obligations because they are ignorant, incompetent, unethical, and lazy. And the licensing boards and the AFCC and the APA don't care. They've abandoned you, and it's an absolute mess. So with that, I'm headed off to my Sunday. Not a very optimistic thing on treatment. We'll see what we can do out there. I'm available for consultation. If you find somebody with motivation, that's all it takes. Any mental health professional can step up, give that diagnosis of child psychological abuse. The only thing that is missing is backbone. The backbone of the mental health profession. That's the only thing. That's what my role is. I give them backbone to do the right thing, to make that child abuse diagnosis when it's warranted, and to step up and advocate that we protect the child. That's what we do. We're psychologists, we're mental health people, we're doctors. We always protect the child. So we need to start doing that, and that will solve the situation for parents. Shouldn't be up to you to solve it. That's our job as psychologists, to solve it. We need to start doing our job. Then you can start relaxing because you don't have to solve everything. The professionals are doing their job.